Kenya. Beautiful sceneries in beautiful places with amazing people. Kenya is a home of more than 40 ethnic groups, be it Kamba, be it Luya, be it Kikuyu, be it Kalenjin. With them a Kalenjin, but not a Kalenjin by profession, because I'm a born Tao, you see, and I only know Chamge means sin. That's all. Yeah, but yeah, that's how we roll. That's how we roll. And these so-called tourists, in Kenya we call them wazungus because they are of more developed countries than ours. But we are trying, and we are coming up. Yeah, we are leveling up, and yeah. So they can't resist Kenya because Kenya is the capital country in Africa. That's how we do it. That's how we are. That's how we believe. But it's the truth. It's the truth. And so I will boldly take you through those communication skills. Communication as a skill of how it has shaped the cultures of different communities in Kenya. So first, you remember them days where you could gather under trees, which was always policy that you could run by evening. Evening, yeah, it could be found by the elders being like listening to the stories that are being told, which there was of moral lessons and yeah, maybe entertainment, and yeah. So you could find that there was a fantasy which it flowed with the story being told with elders, and others of, yeah, there was of more moral lesson, and there was this proverb they could use because in traditional oral cultures they use more of proverbs and yeah, and poems and of other things and songs, yeah, many things. And so they had this one proverbs which said, hari hari has no blessing, and but pole pole ndio mwendo. That proverb, it's used to caution on people not to make rash decisions on their daily life. Yes. So yeah, never run to make bad decisions. Maybe even in this year is ending, yeah, do not rush into bad decisions. And so another way of how communication as a skill has shaped the cultures in communities in Kenya. It is of use of gestures and facial expressions. Imagine you staring or making too much contact with an elderly person back in the days. It was considered disrespectful. Like how? Never mind. And yeah, it was considered disrespectful, and that was also a way of how communication was passed. Yeah, you should not stare. You should not stare at an elderly person for too long. Yeah, that's a caution. Yeah. Yeah. So another way of and also yeah, do not. So another way of how communication as a skill has shaped the cultures of different communities in Kenya is of greetings. Let me break it down for you. You see, have you ever seen that in this movie, person like persons, they could come and place their left hand on their right hand, and they could greet them like this, or they could kneel down. Yeah, that was also a way of greeting. Yeah, that was because in the traditional communities it was considered a high quality of respect. Yeah, not going hey, you know what, hi grandfather, hi babu. Yeah, that was not that was disrespectful, and many that in that times they could yeah, they considered uh, greetings before any discussions, to be precise. Yeah, yeah, that was all. And there's this also uh, of how communication has shaped cultures in Kenya of different communities, is of how people are using languages how they could switch from Kiswahili to English to to their local languages, depending on the status and the relationships of how they are yeah. So you could, as an example, you could find a business person in a workplace. They could use English for formality, and people for, and how people are outside here using Kiswahili. Yeah, they could use Kiswahili for, yeah, for just to easy talk. Yeah, for easy talk. Yeah, and that brings me to my conclusion, and is of how you should understand the how the cultures have influenced, because it gives more of critical thinking and moral lessons, and yeah, and mainly it shapes including of the identity and of the tradition and the respect. Yeah, and it creates relationships, or it strengthens relationships in many places, workplace, school. Yeah, and yeah, thank you. My name is Mark Yada, BCJ student, bachelor in communication journalism, and yeah, my registration number is 2133 stroke 26. Yeah, bye.